Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 203, and for this one, we're playing uncapped 100-200 no limit at the lodge. This is by far the highest stakes game that I've ever played, and I get into some of the biggest pots I've ever played, and some of the biggest bluffs are in there as well. So you guys are gonna love it. Yeah, this one's sweet. So before we get started, one announcement. The Lodge Championship Series is coming up. That'll be May 4th through the 23rd. Andrew, Doug, and myself will all be out there for different parts of it. So hope to see you there. I have more information in the description box below. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Have you ever felt compelled to test the absolute maximum of your limits? To push yourself out of your comfort zone? I mean, way out. To the point where a prior version of yourself wouldn't have even believed that you had it in you to take the shot. I certainly have, but usually I suppress the compulsion. I rationalize why not taking a risk is better, and I talk myself into taking a safer route. That's probably fine most of the time, but every once in a while, it's good to push the envelope and really see what you're made of. Today, I'm putting it all on the line in what's by far the highest stakes poker game that I've ever played. It's day 6 of Monster Meetup Week at the Lodge, and I'll be firing an uncapped 100-200 no limit against a mix of elite pros and business moguls. It's Texas, so with straddles, the game will play much bigger. I'm physically exhausted from the travel, lack of sleep, and hours I've been putting in leading up to this. I'm emotionally exhausted from thinking about the session for weeks and battling in progressively higher stakes over the last several days with the biggest pots I've ever played. Well, at least until today. A few more of those 5-figure pots ended up being pushed towards my opponents than they did towards me, so I'm playing with less confidence than normal. I buy in for $30,000 to begin today's session, I've sold 20% of my action, and I'm prepared to add on up to $100,000 if necessary. I hope, with every part of me, that it never comes to that. 2 tables of 100-200 have actually been going on for hours already before the stream starts, with some players currently up or down 6 figures. I'm as nervous as I could be, as I wonder which side of the even mark that I'll end up on. There's a palpable buzz at the lodge, everyone here can feel it. Never have I had so many strangers wish me the best as I walk to the stream table. Thanks a lot.
Good luck pick for you.
Sure, let's do it.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're about to play the Nosebleeds for the first time. It's likely the biggest game running on the continent right now, and it's being streamed to over 10,000 people. I've got family and friends tuning in. I have to block out the distractions, forget that this amount of money in front of me is real, suppress my anxiety to the best of my ability, and play how I know I'm capable of playing. It sounds easy. I assure you, it isn't. I'm in for the most that I've ever bought into a game for, yet I'm tied for the shortest stack at the table. I can't stress enough how important it is to get off to a good start, hopefully get into a rhythm that I haven't been able to find this whole week, and build some confidence. I wouldn't even mind getting unplayable hands just to have easy decisions for the first half hour or so. The deck has other plans for me. The third hand dealt, I pick up ace-3 suited under the gun +1, I raise to 600. This is it, we're going to battle.
It's going to be interesting here because this has got to be one of the largest games that Brad's ever played in, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. If not the largest.
It is.
Yeah, if not the largest, and he's going to play a hand here. I saw that Boots called with King 10 of Hearts. It's not up there, but he raised to 600, Brad did, and Boots called, and he's going to get some action here from Hook 2 with Black 8, so... Right off the bat, looks like Doug Polk getting a price. Going to come in there with the 5-deuce suited, so 4 ways.
Frank gives us a flop.
Oh, how about an 8 in the door? And look at this. Brad has the nut flush draw, so this is going to be a big, big pot, or could be.
We've got the nut flush draw on 1 over and a 4-way pot on a board that will theoretically be way better for my range than anyone else since I open from early position and there are 2 Broadway cards. Doug checks with his complete air. I consider checking, but since this is so good for me as the under the gun +1 pre-flop raiser, I bet 2200 is a semi-bluff. I don't anticipate getting raised because none of my opponents will ever have a set of kings or queens. The absolute best hand that anyone will have is a set of 8s, and the only 2-pair combination that makes sense for the opponents other than Doug is king-queen. If anyone calls my bet, it'll just build the pot in case I make the nuts, but I expect my opponents to fold pretty often. That won't be happening. The middle position opponent, whose cards aren't up on the screen, calls with King 10 of Hearts. He has top pair and isn't close to being my main concern. The button flopped bottom set. It's the hand that I said would be the absolute best that any of my opponents could have. It's one of only 2 holdings that I anticipate the button will raise me with for value. Hook makes it 11,000 to go. Doug folds in the big blind. If I call for 9,000 more, the pot will be 27,000 and I'll have 18,000 left in my stack. I'll be completely pot committed and won't really be able to fold to a turn shove, getting almost 3-1 on a call at that point. since there are so few value hands that my opponent will have, and his range is capped at pocket 8s, whereas I can have all the sets and 2 pair hands, I think that there's some chance that I could even be best. Hook is definitely capable of raising with some kind of worse draw. He's one of those guys who played for hours before the stream. During that time, he got into a hand with my friend Mike Del Vecchio when Hook 5-bet shoved ace-jack offsuit preflop for 70,000 effective. Hook is a wild guy who can sometimes play with reckless abandonment. I can't see myself folding the nut flush draw on a flop against his opponent, and I won't be folding on the turn either. It's much better to get my money in now. I rip it to hopefully catch Hook making a move. Perhaps I can win this without seeing another card come out, but worst case scenario, I'll have 2 shots at hitting a diamond if I get called. The middle position player snap folds his pair of kings. Hook doesn't even snap call with his set. He's never folding a set for 18,000 more though. He makes the call, which I'm not thrilled to see, but I've missed a lot of draws and all-ins on previous streams this week. I'm kind of feeling like I'm due.
Brad just gets it in here with ace-3 of diamonds.
This has happened in about under 7 seconds.
Wow, he's going to be about a 3-to-1 dog here against the set.
How many times are we running it, boys?
In every single all-in situation this week on stream, I've run it once for max pain, including several pots for 20,000 or more, so guess what we'll be doing here?
They're going twice.
So about over 60 grand because Brad started with 30, plus the dead money out there. So they're going to go twice here, boys.
Brad looking for a diamond, a non-board pairing diamond.
Doug says, what's happened for blood? Last time Brad wanted to go 1 time blood for the stream, but this time we're going twice. Can't blame him.
If Brad can escape and win 1 here, that's going to be a good result for him.
Yeah, we're going twice. This is 3 hands into a nosebleed game with a pot 2 times bigger than any pot I've ever been involved in. The risk for me is already at an all-time high. No need to make things any wilder than they are when I'm shot taking. I've got about a 50% chance of chopping this. If I can somehow win both runouts, I'll be up over 30,000. The first turn is the ace of hearts, giving me a meaningless pair. The only significance is that had I just flatted the flop raise, there's no sliver of a doubt that I would have called a turn shove. Over $30,000 of this pot is going to be determined by the next card. The river is the 4 of spades. We brick, and I'm both somewhat deflated by the outcome and also happy that I chose to run it twice, so I have a second chance for at least getting my money back. Only one other player folded a diamond pre-flop, which is why the 4 of diamonds is grayed out in the top right. The second turn is the 10 of spades. It gives me a gut shot straight draw. I have one last chance at hitting, or I'll be stuck more than I've ever been stuck in my life. There's tons of tension at the table. I'm sure that the viewers of the stream are on the edge of their seats, so we're about to be extremely relieved or devastated. I kid you not, at this exact moment, the stream cuts out. Here's what the viewers saw.
But the tone has been set, ladies and gentlemen. If you are here early, you've been rewarded.
I'd love to tell you that the second river was a diamond and we chopped, but it was a brick, and I'm only able to keep my chips because I'm in the process of buying him back from Hook. I missed 4 chances at a diamond to lose by far the biggest pot that I've ever played. It's hard for me to process what's going on. I'm not even settled into the game yet. I can't help but think about my friends and family who are watching, my girlfriend and her 2 daughters who stayed up to watch as I immediately get obliterated. Out of all the scenarios that I envisioned coming into this, even in the worst one I imagined, I didn't consider ever getting stacked in a pot over 60,000 3 hands into the session. This is my nightmare coming to fruition. I'm playing for massive stakes on a stream that people I'm closest to are watching, and I get completely punished for an amount that sent Mike McDermott into retirement. My pregame fears are evolving into even grander fears. Not only could I be in for and potentially lose $100,000, I could lose that amount within a half hour. I've got to snap out of that train of thought though. I can't afford to let this 1 hand and 2 runouts affect my decision making. I can't let the fear paralyze me or cause me to play worse. The reality is that this session isn't over and $30,000 is only 150 big blinds. I've come back from being down several hundred multiple other times. I still have a seat and chips at this table. As long as that's the case, I'm going to give it everything I've got. Just minutes later, the deck tries to make amends. The cutoff has Queen 10 offsuit and raises to 800. I've got pocket aces on the button. This is still the first orbit, but it feels like a lifetime has gone by. I 3-bet to 2,500. I wouldn't expect my opponent to make the call from out of position with an offsuit Queen 10, but he refuses to be put in a box since he doesn't like tight spaces or tight ranges. He calls, we're heads up. The flop is a good one. It's ace 7-4 with 2 diamonds. We have top set and a 3-bet pot in a 100-200 uncapped, no limit game. The opponent checks. Sometimes I'll check back in this spot, but in general, I'm not a huge fan of slow playing. I down bet to 2,000 in order to give the cutoff an opportunity to make a mistake. The opponent is not one to squander opportunities. He knows just what to do as he puts in the check raise to 5,500.
This is crazy. See, sometimes when you fast play hands, you get people to play back at you I never would have thought this in a million years that he was going to get bluff raised
No.
here and an ace high on an ace high board as 3-bet. Right now, Brad's got pocket aces. Like, this is unbelievable. He just got
Wrong.
checked.
I've got all the aces, so I make a call figuring that I'm up against a bluff. It's a $16,000 pot, and we have the nuts. The turn is the jack of hearts. The opponent picks up the gutter, but suspects that I've got a strong hand. He seemingly gives up and checks. I get the feeling that he doesn't have anything, making my job to get the opponent to put more money in pretty difficult. I bet 4,500. It's a tiny bet designed to charge him in case he has any equity, and also to give him some rope to potentially bluff shove if he interprets my small sizing as weakness. Instead, Nick makes a laydown. Even though I'm stuck over 20,000, making a strong hand and winning several thousand back is a huge relief. I begin to believe that a comeback is possible, and now the butterflies have completely dissipated. After I go card dead for an hour, I can't get anything going, then King Kai raises to 700 with pocket fours from early position. I'm in the small blind with ace king offsuit. I 3-bet to 2,700. The opponent calls, we're heads up out of position, the flop comes 8-5-5 with 2 clubs, we brick it. Ace king could actually be the best hand, or will at least have plenty of equity a lot of the time. I bet 1,800 to give myself an opportunity to win right now and keep control of the pot. I prefer to take this approach rather than check call. Kai calls with his pocket fours. He has some backdoor draws to go along with his pair. The turn is the 7 of spades. It's a bad card for my 3-bet range, and it connects too nicely with the flop for me to want to continue. I check with plans to give up. The opponent checks back, allowing us to see the river. The dealer puts out the 6 of clubs, so pocket fours makes the bottom end of the straight, and the front door flush draw gets there. I check. Surprisingly, the opponent immediately checks back.
Brad's just going to be done with it. Just can't win a pot here. King Kai's going to take it down.
I'm a bit confused as to why King Kai didn't even consider betting once he made a straight. I suppose it doesn't matter much anyway, given what I had. This game is giant, and I'm not able to pick up any momentum after the pocket aces hand. All the money from that win has slowly and unremarkably vanished. I'm in a new low point for the session. Eventually, I'm stuck 33,000. I realize that I'm not able to play the style of poker that I'm most comfortable playing with only 27,000 in front of me. I add on for another 20,000. I'm in for 80,000 total. It's terrifying to be in for that amount. It's twice as much as I've ever been in a game for. A huge portion of my overall net worth is on the line, but despite being stuck piles, I still have confidence in my abilities against this lineup. I'm not throwing in the towel. A couple of straddles are put on. We're playing 100, 200, 400, 800 this hand. Doug raises to 2,000 with ace-7 suited in middle position. I've got pocket fives in the cutoff. I call. Had I not added on, I may have been inclined to fold pre-flop with a short stack. The button calls with pocket eights, the under-the-gun straddler calls, then hook calls in the double straddle for 1,200 more with queen deuce offsuit out of respect for Israeli Ron. We're going 5 ways to the flop. It comes jack 10-5 with 2 diamonds. We have bottom set with multiple opponents in a $10,000 pot. It checks to me. I can't allow anyone to have a free card. I bet 6,000. The button folds. King Kai has a baby flush draw. He calls. The remaining players fold. It's down to heads up. The turn is the ace of spades. Not my favorite since I thought that it was likely my opponent had some sort of draw. King Queen now gets there, but the ace could be okay if under the gun has the ace of diamonds. It could also make it tougher for us to get paid if the opponent had top pair on the flop, but now has been downgraded.
Broadway gets there now, so
Yeah, that has to be slightly concerning for Brad. It's not going to stop me from betting, but obviously King Queen. You also get value from the nut flush draw. It's a really bad card here for King Kai. Where
sizing that we just come with 10K. I like the bet here for Brad.
Yeah, you might just fold out now with the 4-6. Just pure dry flush draw. Didn't pick up anything extra on the turn here.
I don't 100% know if I've got the winner in this moment. The pot is blown up to a point where if I get called, effective stacks will be around half the size of the pot, and there will be very few river cards that I'll be comfortable with since literally every card that doesn't pair the board either puts a new straight possibility out there or makes it so there are 4 to the straight. We obviously don't want any more diamonds to come either. King Kai can't rely on his baby flush draw when he knows that he could be drawing dead. He folds. $32,000 comes back towards our direction. 14,000 of that is profit. It's about the most money that I've ever won from one hand, and it was a single raise pot with only 1 flop bet being called. Next we've got pocket 7s in middle position. There's a straddle on for 400. I raise to 1,000. The cutoff calls with pocket 8s. The big blind calls with 2 ducks. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes ace 10-9 all hearts. We have 4th pair and weak flush draw. Hook checks. Ace high flops are good for my range as the pre-flop raiser. I'm keeping my foot on the gas pedal to possibly get some better hands to fold. I bet 1,600.
Brad's aggression here is going to get boots off the best hand, and he's going to win a small one there.
While it's true that this is just a small pot, I can feel some momentum building up. I'm noticing that the other players are playing fairly tight. I don't blame them. After all, we're playing for significant amounts of money, but I'm going to do everything I can to take advantage of the situation. The other streamed games I played earlier on in the week weren't really for amounts of money that the opponents cared for, so it was nearly impossible to bluff anyone. That's not the case today. Here, there's a $400 straddle on. Nick just limps in with ace-queen offsuit in the hijack. He's a recreational player. He deserves a ton of credit for having the guts to even join us at the lodge for these stakes, since some people, pros even, won't play poker in Texas. They can't handle the swings. I like Nick, but I'm happy to try and isolate him in position with king 10 suited. I raised to 2,000. The big blind wakes up with ace king offsuit, and this is when things get very interesting.
Brad is going to probably get 3-bet, and I would imagine he, depending on the sizing, guys, he might defend with king 10 suited. But Chinese gamblers played so close to the vest the whole night that maybe you even fold this hand.
What is he going to make this? 5.5?
Well, he's got a limp in there. I think he's going to make it like 7,000 at least. Maybe 8 from out of position, 4x, something like that. We'll see. Yeah, 7,000. And that's probably just a hair too small to fold king 10 suited. I think Nick can just limp fold now. Unless he's thinking about doing something crazy. No, yeah, he's just going to fold the ace queen. And now Brad's getting about 2-to-1 in position with the suited Broadway, and he's going to continue. So here we go.
We've got a $15,000 pot against a guy who's been playing snug today. However, he was set up well in this situation to go for a light 3-bet. I played with the same player the night before on stream. This is a flashback to that session in which he 3-bet squeezed with a small suited ace in a similar scenario. Back to this hand, we're heads up in position. The flop comes queen 7-6 rainbow with 1 club. We have 1 over and some strong backdoor draws. Any card above a 7 that doesn't pair the board is going to give us at least a gutter. Clubs are live as well. Plus, this flop is good for my range. I'll realistically have all the sets, even top set, and I can have 7-6 suited for 2 pair. I wouldn't expect the big blind to have any of those hands very often except a set of queens. Pretty frequently, he'll just have ace high, whether it's ace king like he has here, or a small suited ace like he had in the previous clip that I showed you. The opponent doesn't want to quit on this yet. He down bets to 5,000. My sense is that he has me beat but is weak. I could flat to peel one off since I'm getting a good price and I'm in position. I figure I'm likely going to have to bluff at this at some point to take it down though. I might as well try it here when I have maximum leverage. A raise looks much stronger than if I call this bet. The opponent checks the turn and I fire at that point. There's almost no shot that I'll get re-raised even if my opponent has a set of queens, so if I raise here and get called, I could potentially even check back the turn and see a river card for free if I want, or I can continue with the heat if I feel like it. Either way, I'll have control of the pot. I go with the option that allows me to win on this street. I raised to 13,000. The stream doesn't really capture it on camera though. Not only will all ace high hands have to fold, but hands like jacks and 10s and 9s are going to hate facing this aggression as well. There's no sweat. The opponent folds right away. We get the biggest pure bluff that I've ever attempted, threw immediately to profit over 12,000 on the hand.
Did he
believe he raised?
He raised it.
And Brad Owen making plays.
Wow, that is definitely something that I was not expecting. He raises Chinese gambler's c-bet and
raised to 13K and
wow.
took it down.
Nice move there by Brad.
And that guy just snapped ace king like it was nothing.
Well played there from the 7th seed. Says enough's enough.
There you go, Brad.
With this win, I'm only down about 7,000. That's still a lot of money for me, but I'm feeling great about recovering 26,000 since the low point. For the first time the entire week, I've strung some winning hands together, and I'm in a groove. My mind went to some dark places after losing the $60,000 pot to start. I'm completely out of that, and I don't want to leave until I get all my money back and then some. In this hand, the graphics get a bit messed up initially. Nick has pocket 10s and raises to 1,200 in the hijack. I've got ace-queen offsuit in the cutoff. I 3-bet to 3,500. It folds back to Nick. He calls for 2,300 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes king-king-3 with 2 clubs. We don't have much except an over and some backdoor draws. Nick checks. I may have the best hand. I can make it small to get lots of hands that are either better than mine or that have equity to fold. I accidentally make it 1,800. I meant to make it 2,800. I wouldn't expect Nick to lay down 10s in this spot, although it probably looks like I really want to get called, and last time I bet small against him, I had a set of aces. I'm sure one of his buddies has since notified him that I bet a quarter pot with the nuts in that hand. My image is actually quite good at the moment. Nick is confused and doesn't want to tangle with me, and he shockingly lets his cards go.
Lays it down.
Folded! Wow, 1,800. Well, chalk one up for Brad.
Don't think the Chinese gambler would be folding there with 10, so he might have a new nitty.
Brad is making moves of late. His second bluff.
We get this one through after risking less than we intended and are within striking distance of the even mark. A big part of being a successful poker player is the ability to understand the dynamics of the table and take what your opponents are going to give you. Several guys are playing scared. My plan is to continue to capitalize on that. We pick up 10-9 suited under the gun +1. In games with lots of 3-betting, I may fold this hand. I don't have to be too concerned about that happening here. I raise to 600. The cutoff makes a loose call with ace-deuce offsuit. Doug defends his big blind with queen-4 suited. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It's jack 7-6 with 2 spades and a club. Doug checks. I probably don't have the best hand, but I have a draw to the nuts, and there are several cards that can help me improve on the turn. I bet 1100 is a semi-bluff. Luckily for me, neither player has anything that they can stick around with. They both fold. This isn't a significant hand other than the fact that with this win, I'm only down $700. I'm extremely happy to have battled back. Still, the job isn't quite finished yet. I pick up pocket 10s under the gun +2 and raise to 1,000 in a straddled pot. Hook is in the small blind and 3 bets to 4,000. It's too bad that the stream had an issue and missed the beginning of the hand. I call the 3-bet. The flop comes ace-7-4 rainbow. If we win this pot, we'll be entirely out of the hole and actually up several thousand. The opponent checks. This is a bad flop for me since even some of the 3-bet bluffs in Hook's range are going to have me beat. I don't see the need to turn my hand into a bluff. I check back. The turn is the 5 of diamonds. The stream has issues again, so we have to freeze the frame here as I talk about it. We both check once more. I figured that I could be up against a hand like queens or jacks. The river is a queen. Hook improves to the best hand and bets 3,000. I fold. Hook wins it. We aren't able to break through to the green part of the leaderboard and are running out of time. We're getting towards the end of the stream when Hook makes a very wide raise to 1,200 with 8-7 offsuit from middle position in a straddle pot. Nick has jiggities on the button. He could reasonably call or 3-bet. He calls. I'm in the small blind with ace-queen of hearts. I don't want to call and play this multi-way from out of position. I 3-bet to 6,000. Hook gets punished for playing his holding as he should. He folds. The action is on Nick, who has a weird stack depth. He only has about 16,000 behind. After under-repping his hand for the first time around, he should really be considering 4-bet jamming for about 11,000 on top of my raise. He's in agony because there's obviously no right way to play jiggities. He probably figures that I could have him crushed, or he's going to be flipping a lot. It's not a pleasant situation to be in, particularly for an amateur player who's really extending himself to play in this lineup at these stakes.
He doesn't really look pleased. I don't think he's really putting on an act. And he folds! Wow, that's single raise, flat, and a fold to the squeeze. That's the ultimate respect there from Brad Owen. Brad Owen with that godlike image.
Once I find out what Nick folded, I realize that he isn't going to look great on this vlog. He picked a bad time to bluff me earlier when I had a set, then has since made some suspect laydowns that we know because we can see the cards were incorrect. I have a few things to say about it. One is that I kind of wish that he jammed the jack so that I could have called, won, and been up the most money that I've ever been up in a poker game. Second, poker is obviously much easier when you can see what other people's cards are on a stream. Also, Nick is a really smart guy who's made a lot of money in other ways outside of poker. He's in a financial position to risk tens of thousands of dollars at a poker table for basically the sole purpose of having fun, and he's doing it all on stream against professionals. It's extremely tough in this environment under these conditions to play your best. Folding jacks in that spot against my actual hand isn't even that bad since it was basically a coin flip. Unless you're both in a situation where you can afford to play games this massive and actually have the stones to take a seat, I hope that I won't be seeing any negative opinions about Nick's play in the comment section. With that being said, I've got 79,500 in front of me and I'm only down 500 for the session. I'm feeling the most comfortable that I felt in a game all week despite having enough money at the table for a down payment on a nice home. I want to play for as long as I can. Unfortunately, I'm not able to win any more significant pots as my stack slowly dwindles a little as the session ends. Still, with various things going against us, we recoup over 30,000 in losses to essentially be even on the day for this game. We finish only down a few big blinds. Played for 4.5 hours or so. Biggest game of my life by far. 100, 200, 400, pretty much every hand. I got the straddle up to 800. Got stuck 30,000 immediately. It was like the exact opposite way I could have ever wanted to start the stream. Thought it could be just a nightmare session, but clawed my way back. Got the huge bluff through with king 10 of clubs, so that was awesome. And then just feel really fortunate to have not gotten crushed. I had a lot of fun, and I feel like I got in kind of a groove there and felt pretty comfortable for a little while. So just awesome for the lodge to have this game and for the stream and everything. And there were a lot of messages people sent me, so I feel really good just to get out of there alive, because I was feeling anxious the entire time, the entire week leading up to this. So pretty nuts to only lose $2,000 during that time. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons, because it helps out the channel a ton. Part of the reason why I jumped into this game was because I thought it would make for something really entertaining for you guys, to see me actually play the nosebleeds and go through my honest emotions about everything. It was a really, really tough session to get through after being stuck 30,000 to start, and have that while family and friends are watching, and just the rest of the poker world who tuned into the live stream. And I could have just kind of crumbled and got wrecked the rest of the session, but I buckled down. I tried to play my best poker while there were a ton of external factors that were kind of against me in that situation. But luckily, I got the majority of it back. I got over 30,000 back. I only ended up losing $2,000, and for that game, it was mostly 100, 200, 400. So I basically lost 5 big blinds, the equivalent of $10 in a 1-2 game. And for me, that is a giant win. I felt like I grew a lot as a player, getting comfortable with those stakes, or not getting comfortable. Well, I did get comfortable. I did definitely get into a nice rhythm there for a couple hours at the end. As soon as I kind of figured out how the table was playing, and I developed a plan for when I was going to kind of take my spots, and it worked out for the most part. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. This is the end from Monster Meetup Week that happened earlier in January. If you haven't checked out the other videos, be sure to check those out. I played some really interesting hands. Didn't do too well. I ended up losing 15,000 overall, but played just massive stakes. And actually, the majority of the loss from that week came from what was supposed to be the smallest game. It was 5-10 plus. It ended up being 5-10, 25, 50, 100, 200, 400 at the end. And I lost $12,000 in that game. But yeah, happy to have got out of this game alive. I was super nervous about playing it for like weeks leading up to it, and was immediately relieved once it was over. Anyway, if you're interested in checking out the lodge, it's in Round Rock, Texas, right outside of Austin. We're doing the Lodge Championship Series May 4th through the 23rd. So that's going to be a blast. Doug, Andrew, and me are going to be out there, and there are tournament buy-ins of all different amounts, and we'll be getting a lot of cash games going as well. So there's going to be a ton of action. Hope to see you there. Hope you're all doing well. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.